So in this video, I want to show you how I created this interactive simulation using JavaScript, HTML, and an SVG image. So this example is a little bit more complicated than the bare bones example that I showed earlier on, in which a red square changes to blue when you click on it. And it's not as complicated as the example oscilloscope that we've seen before. So you really can see this second example as maybe being a stepping stone towards creating more complex examples. It's got some key features like sliders, radio buttons, and dials that you might be able to reuse to create your own simulations. But you'll see that all these simulations basically have the same structure. They all have an SVG image, and they use JavaScript then to interact with the JavaScript image. So I've created this image already, the SVG image, using a tool called Inkscape. And Inkscape is an open source piece of software that allows you to create SVG images, kind of complex SVG images using drag and drop. So I'm going to show you how I created this image in a little while. But before doing that, I'm going to show you how to get set up with creating a new, more complex example. So what I'm going to do at the start is really use this bare bones example as a template. So if I right click and I view the page source, I'm going to reuse this source in my second example. So I'm going to go back to my Notepad++ editor, which is also available for free. You can use any text editor, but I like Notepad++. And this new example is going to have the same basic structure. We're going to have our JavaScript, but it'll be different JavaScript, so I'll remove this. And we're going to have our SVG image, which is also going to be different. So I need to put my SVG image in here and my JavaScript in here. Now, I've created this SVG image already, and here is the SVG code that was generated by the Inkscape software. So I'm going to run through how to create the SVG image in a little while, as I said. But to start off, I can even just copy this SVG image and I could paste it in here. And that's the SVG part of my my application done. And I'm going to go back in time now and show you how I created that. But before doing that, one thing that I think is worth mentioning is that copy pasting an image can be a little bit messy. It's not the most elegant way to do it, but unfortunately at this point in time, it's the most consistent way that I can find to creating these types of simulations. I do just want to quickly show you an alternative using PHP, which doesn't require you to copy paste. Let me show you that PHP code now. So this PHP code here can be used. Now, it's not going to be for everybody. Not everyone will have access to PHP, but it's the way that I would do things myself in practice. That way you don't have to copy paste from a file all the time. So basically what this is use a built-in function called file_get_contents, which reads the contents of the SVG drawing that I've created and then just displays the contents to screen. So that's a workaround for this problem that currently exists with browser compatibility. The alternative is just to copy paste the SVG code directly into the HTML code. So what I'll do now is I'll run through how I created the SVG code using Inkscape, and then when I'm finished that, we'll get back and we'll write out the JavaScript to finish out the simulation. So I just want to run through how to create the JavaScript code now in order to make the SVG image interactive. And you saw that as I was creating the drawing in Inkscape, that certain elements like this circle up here, I would have labeled, given a particular ID. I'd also associated some interactivity with particular events, like in this case, the on-click event. The select ellipse function is associated with that event. Let me just show you where that is in the code now. So if I look up that left radio button, this is the SVG code, and you can see that it has the ID, left radio button, and also down here the on-click event will call the JavaScript function select square. Now we haven't created any of these functions yet, and that's what I want to run through with you now. But I want you to relate that back to the bare bones example that we saw before. So this is the code for the bare bones example. We have an event on click, and when that red square is clicked on, the change function is called, and we had to write the function to get the color of the square to change. So it's exactly the same now, but we have a little bit more. We have more functions to create, which you saw as I was creating the SVG image. So I'm just going to run through now creating that type of code. So let's start off with the function to select a square.